The giant research ship Harmony floated dead in space, trapped inside the deadly Crimson Nebula like a broken toy. Red clouds of poisonous gas swirled around the vessel while invisible radiation waves ate through its metal hull. Inside, Captain Veltar's crystal-like body flickered with panic as he watched the life support systems fail one by one. Veltar belonged to the Xanathi people, beings made of living crystal, who could survive in the cold vacuum of space for short periods. But even his tough, crystalline form couldn't handle the deadly radiation pouring through the ship's damaged walls. Around him, 11 other crew members from different alien worlds huddled together, their strange bodies trembling with fear. There was Clix, a 6-legged insect creature whose green shell was already showing burn marks from the radiation. Next to him sat Bluemouth, a floating jellyfish-like being whose transparent body was turning a sickly yellow color. In the corner, 3 reptilian Scary warriors tried to look brave, but their scales were peeling off from the invisible poison. In the air, emergency power, at 15%, called out the ship's computer in a calm voice that didn't match the terror everyone felt. Life support will fail in 47 minutes. Veltar's crystal fingers shook as he activated the emergency transmitter. The device crackled with static before his desperate voice cut through the cosmic noise. All Coalition vessels, this is Research Ship Harmony. We have critical system failure in Sector 7 Delta. Our engines are completely dead. 12 crew members of various species need immediate evacuation. Radiation levels are climbing past safe limits. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need help now. His message traveled through space at light speed, reaching the massive Galactic Coalition Command Center 3 hours later. The command center looked like a floating city made of metal and glass, with thousands of alien beings working at control stations that stretched as far as the eye could see. Admiral Krish, a 7-foot-tall reptilian with green scales and yellow eyes, studied the emergency report on his screen. His long tail twitched with annoyance as he read the location coordinates. Behind him, dozens of other officers from different worlds waited for his decision. "Sir," said his assistant, a small furry creature with 4 arms, "should we send rescue ships?" Kresh's scaled head moved from side to side in the universal gesture of no. His voice was deep and rough like grinding stones. "The Crimson Nebula is a death zone. The radiation storms in that area would kill any rescue crew before they got within 50 miles of that ship. Our best ships can't handle those conditions." He turned to face his staff, his yellow eyes glowing with cold logic. "Mark the Harmony and her crew as lost. There's nothing we can do for them. Send their families notification of their sacrifice for Coalition science." But 300 light-years away, in a completely different part of the galaxy, someone else was listening. Captain Jack Morrison sat in the pilot's seat of his small cargo ship Defiance, a beat-up vessel that looked like it had been through 100 space battles. The ship was only about the size of a large house, nothing compared to the massive Coalition warships. Jack was drinking coffee from a metal cup when the emergency signal reached his radio. His engineer, Beth Parker, looked up from her workstation, where she had been fixing a broken coolant pipe. Grease covered her hands and face, but her blue eyes were sharp with intelligence. "Jack, did you just hear that distress call?" she asked, wiping her hands on a dirty cloth. Jack nodded, his brown eyes studying the star charts on his screen. He was a medium-sized man with short black hair and a face marked by years of dangerous space travel. "Yeah, I heard it. Ships trapped in the Crimson Nebula. Coalition Command just wrote them off as dead." Their pilot, Danny Collins, spun around in his chair. He was young, maybe 25, with bright red hair and freckles covering his pale face. "Boss, that nebula will cook us alive. The radiation levels there are off the charts." From the medical bay came Kate Wilson, their ship's doctor. She was a tall woman with long blonde hair tied back in a ponytail. Her hands were always steady, perfect for the delicate work of treating injuries in space. "Jack, The radiation alone would kill most alien species in minutes. Their biology can't handle that kind of punishment. The last crew member, Alex Torres, climbed up from the engine room. His dark skin was covered in sweat from working in the hot mechanical spaces below. As their systems specialist, he knew every bolt and wire on the ship. I've been monitoring coalition frequencies. They're not even going to try a rescue. They think it's impossible. Jack finished his coffee and set the cup down with a metallic clink. He looked at each of his 4 crew members, these humans who had chosen to live on the edge of known space, hauling cargo to places other species were afraid to go. "Well, team," he said with a slight smile, "looks like those alien folks are about to learn something about humans they didn't know before." Beth raised an eyebrow. "And what's that?" "That we're too stupid to know when something's impossible." Jack's hands moved over the control panel, setting a new course. "Plot a route for the Crimson Nebula. We've got people to save." The Defiance changed direction, its engines glowing brighter as it headed toward certain death. The Defiance hit the outer edge of the Crimson Nebula like a small boat entering a hurricane. The moment they crossed into the deadly cloud, every warning system on the ship started screaming at once. Red lights flashed everywhere while sirens wailed through the corridors. Danny Collins gripped the pilot controls so hard, his knuckles turned white. The steering wheel shook violently in his hands as invisible radiation waves slammed into their ship. Outside the windows, the nebula looked like a massive storm made of blood-red gas and lightning. "Hull temperature is climbing fast," Danny yelled, over the noise of alarms. Sweat poured down his freckled face as he fought to keep the ship on course. The radiation was heating up their metal hull like a giant oven. "We're at 800 degrees and rising." In the engineering section, Alex Torres worked frantically at his control panels. Sparks flew from damaged circuits as he tried to keep their systems running. His dark skin glistened with sweat as the temperature inside the ship climbed higher and higher. "I'm rerouting all available power to the forward shields." Alex shouted back to the bridge. His hands moved lightning fast over buttons and switches as electrical systems overloaded around him. "But I'm telling you, we've got maybe 20 minutes before everything electronic on this ship gets fried completely." The radiation was like an invisible fire that passed right through solid metal. It cooked electronic circuits and made the air itself dangerous to breathe. Most alien species would have been dead within the first 60 seconds of exposure. Their delicate bodies simply couldn't handle this level of punishment. But humans were different. Earth had been a harsh teacher, forcing humanity to evolve tough bodies that could survive almost anything. The crew of the Defiance pushed forward through conditions that would have turned most coalition species into dust. Kate Wilson moved through the ship, checking on everyone, her medical scanner beeping warnings with every step. "Radiation levels are climbing past anything I've seen before," she reported to Jack. "But somehow we're still functioning. Our bodies are handling this better than they should be able to." Meanwhile, aboard the dying Harmony, the alien crew stared at their sensor screens in complete shock. Their instruments showed the human ship moving through space that their computers had marked with bright red warnings. "Unsurvivable known species can survive in this region." Dr. Nalthi, the expedition's chief scientist, was a tall being with pale blue skin and 4 arms. He had spent his entire life studying the limits of biological survival. His large black eyes couldn't believe what the sensors were showing him. "This is impossible," he whispered to Captain Veltar. "According to every scientific study we've ever done, no organic life form can withstand those radiation levels. The cellular damage should be instant and fatal." Clicks. The insect-like crew member clicked his mandibles nervously. Maybe their sensors are broken. Maybe they don't know how much danger they're in. But Bloometh, the floating jellyfish creature, pointed one of her tentacles at the screen. "Look at their ship's path. They're not flying randomly. They're navigating through the worst of the radiation storms on purpose, finding the safest route through this death trap." The three Scary warriors watched in amazement as the small human ship danced between massive radiation clouds that would have destroyed their own vessel instantly. The humans seemed to know exactly where to go, as if they could sense the safest path through the cosmic minefield. "Their ship is taking damage," observed one of the Scary. "Look at those hull readings. The metal is actually melting in some places. But they keep coming," Captain Veltar said with growing wonder. "They're not turning back." Hour after hour, the Defiance pushed deeper into the nebula. The ship's hull glowed red-hot from radiation exposure. Paint peeled off the walls inside as temperatures rose to levels that would have killed most alien species from heat alone. But the human crew kept working. Beth Parker crawled through maintenance tunnels, replacing burned-out circuits with her bare hands, while radiation cooked the air around her. Danny wrestled with controls that sparked and smoked, but somehow still responded to his touch. Alex rerouted power through backup systems that shouldn't have been able to handle the load. Finally, after what felt like hours of flying through hell itself, the Defiance emerged from the worst of the radiation storm. There, floating helplessly in a pocket of relatively calm space, was the Harmony. The alien ship looked like a beautiful work of art compared to the battle-scarred human vessel, but it was completely powerless, dark and silent, except for the faint glow of emergency lights. Jack's voice crackled over the communication system, rough from breathing the superheated air inside his damaged ship. "This is Captain Jack Morrison of the cargo vessel Defiance. We're here to get you out of this mess." Aboard the Harmony, the alien crew members looked at each other in stunned silence. The humans had actually made it. They had flown through space that should have been instantly fatal and somehow survived. "How?" Dr. Nelthie whispered. "How are they still alive?" The Defiance slowly approached the disabled research ship, its hull still glowing from heat and radiation damage. Smoke poured from several sections, and the humans inside looked exhausted but determined. "Captain." Veltar activated his ship's communication system with shaking crystal fingers. "Captain Morrison, we cannot believe you made it through the radiation storms. Our computers said survival was mathematically impossible." Jack's tired voice came back over the radio, and they could almost hear him smiling. "Well, Captain, maybe your computers never met a human before." Beth Parker floated through the airlock connecting the two ships, her scanner beeping constantly as she examined the Harmony's damaged systems. The alien ship was beautiful inside, with smooth curved walls that seemed to glow with their own light. But her instruments told a different story. This ship was dying. "Well, I've got good news and bad news," Beth announced over her radio as she finished her scan. "The good news is I found the problem. The bad news is your quantum drive core is completely fried. Someone cooked it with too much power when the radiation hit." Back on the Defiance, Jack listened through his headset while the alien crew gathered around Captain Veltar. The crystalline captain's body flickered with worry as he translated Beth's words for his crew. "What does that mean exactly?" asked Veltar, his voice carrying a strange musical quality that all Xanathi possessed. Beth pulled herself along the ship's corridor, using handholds built into the walls. The artificial gravity on the Harmony was failing, making everything float. "It means your main engine is dead. To get this ship moving again, someone needs to manually realign the field generators from inside the engine room. It's not something you can do remotely." The alien crew members looked at each other with what could only be described as horror. Clix's insect-like head twitched nervously while Bluemath's jellyfish body pulsed with frightened colors. Even the tough Scary warriors took a step backward. Chief Engineer Yuldrin stepped forward. Like Captain Veltar, he was made of living crystal, but his body was darker and shot through with veins of silver metal. He had been working on starship engines for over 200 years. "I must explain the situation," Yuldrin said in his musical voice. "The engine compartment is flooded with quantum radiation and gravitational distortions from the damaged drive core. The radiation levels in there are 1,000 times higher than what we just survived out in the nebula. He paused, his crystal body dimming with sadness. Exposure to those conditions for even 30 seconds would be fatal to any coalition species. The quantum energy would tear apart our molecular structure at the atomic level. We would literally dissolve into nothing. Dr. Nelthy nodded grimly. I've studied the effects of quantum radiation exposure. Death would be instantaneous for most species. Even our toughest warriors couldn't survive more than a few moments. Alex Torres, who had been listening from the Defiance, spoke up over the radio. So, how long would these repairs actually take if someone could survive in their Uldren S? Silver veins pulsed as he calculated. 6 hours minimum. The field generators are located deep inside the engine core. Each one must be individually adjusted by hand. There are 47 separate components that need realignment, he added quietly, almost in a whisper. Of course, this is all theoretical. Survival in those conditions would be impossible for any known life form. Alex cracked his knuckles, a sound that came clearly through the radio. On the harmony, the alien crew jumped at the strange popping noise. Well then, I guess I better get started. The aliens stared at the radio speaker in shock. Dr. Nalthy was the first to find his voice. Did the human just volunteer to enter the engine room? You bet I did, Alex replied cheerfully. Give me about 20 minutes to put together some gear and I'll have your ship running like new. Captain Veltar's crystal body flashed with panic. Human Alex, you don't understand. The conditions in that engine room would kill you instantly. The quantum radiation alone would destroy your cellular structure. Well, we'll just have to see about that, won't we? Alex was already moving round the Defiance, gathering supplies. He grabbed pieces of their emergency radiation suits, some spare metal plating, and several rolls of industrial tape. Kate Wilson appeared at his side with her medical kit. Alex, this is insane even by our standards. Let me at least give you some radiation medicine before you go in there. Doc, if that engine room is as bad as they say, I don't think medicine is going to help much. But he let her inject him with a cocktail of drugs designed to help the body fight radiation damage. 20 minutes later, Alex floated through the airlock wearing what looked like a makeshift spacesuit held together with tape and hope. The alien crew watched in amazement as he headed toward the engine room carrying a toolbox that seemed ridiculously simple compared to their advanced technology. Human Alex, called Uldren, are you certain about this? I could try to guide you through the repairs remotely. Alex's voice came through the radio, muffled by his improvised helmet. Thanks, but I've been fixing engines since I was 12 years old. I think I can figure it out. The engine room door slid open with a hiss, revealing a space filled with swirling energy that looked like captured lightning. The quantum radiation was so intense it was visible, crackling through the air in sheets of blue and white light. Alex stepped inside and immediately, his suit began beeping warnings. The radiation counters maxed out so quickly they just gave up and displayed error messages. The gravitational distortions grabbed at his body, trying to stretch him in different directions at once. Okay, he said calmly into his radio. This is definitely not pleasant, but I can see the field generators. They're just knocked out of alignment. Should have this fixed in a few hours. For the next 6 hours, the alien crew watched their instruments in stunned silence. The sensors showed a human being working inside, conditions that should have killed him in seconds. The quantum radiation levels were so high they were off any known scale. But somehow, impossibly, Alex kept working. His voice came over the radio every so often, usually asking for technical specifications or reporting his progress. He sounded tired and strained, but very much alive. Generator 15 realigned, he would report. Moving on to Generator 16. Dr. Nelthy monitored the engine room sensors obsessively. This is impossible, he kept muttering. According To every law of physics I know, there should be nothing left of him but scattered atoms. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Alex's exhausted voice crackled over the radio one last time. That's the last one. Try starting her up. Yuldrin S. Silverveins pulsed as he activated the quantum drive. Deep in the ship's belly, the massive engines came to life with a thrumming sound that resonated through the hull. Quantum drive online, the ship's computer announced in its calm voice. A few minutes later, Alex emerged from the engine room. His makeshift suit was smoking and partially melted. His face was red with radiation burn, and he looked like he had just run a marathon. But he was grinning from ear to ear. "Well, that was fun," he said, pulling off his damaged helmet. "Your engines are running better than new. Should get you home, no problem." The alien crew stared at him in complete silence. What they had just witnessed shouldn't have been possible. A human had just survived 6 hours in conditions that would have instantly destroyed any coalition species. Alex noticed their stares and shrugged. "What? Haven't you guys ever seen someone fix an engine before?" Kate Wilson stared at her medical scanner with growing alarm. The numbers on the screen kept getting worse, and she didn't like what they were telling her. She rushed to the bridge, where Jack was studying star charts on his main display. "Jack, we've got a serious problem," Kate announced, her voice tight with worry. "I'm reading massive gravitational changes throughout this whole area. The gravitational well around that neutron star is collapsing faster than it should." Jack looked up from his screens, his brown eyes immediately focused. "How much time do we have?" Kate checked her readings again, hoping she had made a mistake. She hadn't. "Maybe 30 minutes before the gravity gets so strong that nothing can escape from this area. Both ships need to leave right now, or we're all going to get pulled into that neutron star on the Harmony." Captain Veltar's crystal body flickered with panic as his own sensors confirmed what the human was saying. The neutron star that had trapped them was becoming unstable, its gravity growing stronger by the minute. "Our navigation systems are still damaged from the radiation storms," reported Yuldrin. "We can fly, but we cannot calculate a safe path through the nebula. Our computers are showing static where the star maps should be." Jack studied the swirling chaos of the Crimson Nebula on his screens. The red clouds were constantly moving, filled with radiation storms and gravitational pockets that could crush a ship instantly. Most pilots needed sophisticated computer systems to navigate through such dangerous space. "No problem," Jack said calmly. "We'll lead you out through the storm corridor. Just stay close and follow our exact path. Don't deviate even a little bit, or you'll fly straight into a radiation storm." Dr. Nelthy's voice crackled over the communication system, filled with scientific concern. "Captain Morrison, I must protest this plan. Our computers show no safe passage through those radiation storms. We've run calculations on every possible route, and the probability of survival is mathematically 0. Danny Collins was already warming up the Defiance's engines, his young hands moving expertly over the flight controls. "Boss, even our computers are showing this as impossible. The radiation patterns are constantly shifting." Jack interrupted the conversation with a confident voice that somehow made everyone feel better. "Doc, here's something you need to understand about humans. We don't fly by computers. We fly by gut instinct and pure stubbornness. Sometimes that works better than all your fancy mathematics." Beth Parker checked the Defiance's systems one more time. "All systems are running as well as can be expected after what we've been through. We're ready when you are, Jack." Alex Torres, still exhausted from his work in the engine room, strapped himself into his seat. "The Harmony is flying smooth now. Their engines are actually running better than ours at this point." "Then let's get out of here," Jack said, his hands moving to the flight controls. "Danny, give me manual control. I want to feel this ship respond to my touch." What happened next became legend throughout the galaxy. The Defiance shot forward into the swirling chaos of the Crimson Nebula, with the Harmony following close behind. Jack flew the ship not by watching his instruments, but by instinct developed from years of dangerous space travel. He seemed to sense where the radiation storms would shift before they actually moved. "Hard left," Jack called out as he threw the ship into a sharp turn that pressed everyone back in their seats. Behind them, the Harmony followed the same path, just as a massive radiation cloud swept through the space where they would have been. The alien crew gripped their stations in terror as the human ship led them through what could only be described as a cosmic obstacle course. Radiation storms crackled all around them, some so intense they lit up the nebula like lightning. Gravitational anomalies tried to grab both ships and tear them apart, but Jack Morrison flew through it all like he was born to do it. He zigged left around a radiation storm, then zagged right to avoid a gravity well, then dove down under a cloud of deadly particles. His movements seemed random, but every turn was perfectly timed to avoid disaster. "How is he doing this?" whispered Clix's insect eyes, watching the navigation display. "There's no pattern to his flight path. It's like he's making it up as he goes." Dr. Nalthy studied his instruments frantically. "He is making it up. Look at these readings. He's flying through gaps in the radiation storms that only exist for seconds at a time. Our computers couldn't calculate these movements fast enough, even if they were working." On the Defiance, Danny watched Jack fly with pure admiration. "Boss, you're threading the needle through stuff that would make a computer cry." 20 minutes until the gravity well becomes inescapable," Kate reported, her eyes glued to her scanner. "We need to clear the nebula's edge in the next 15 minutes to have any chance." Jack pushed the Defiance harder, the small ship dancing between cosmic hazards that would have destroyed much larger vessels. Behind them, the Harmony followed like a faithful dog, copying every movement exactly. Suddenly, a massive radiation storm erupted directly in their path. The energy release was so intense it lit up the entire nebula in brilliant white light. Both ships would be cooked if they flew into it. "Dead end," Danny shouted. "There's no way around it." But Jack had already seen something the others missed. At the very edge of the radiation storm, there was a tiny gap, a space no bigger than a football field, between two walls of deadly energy. "Hold on, everyone," Jack said calmly. "This is going to be close." He rolled the Defiance sideways and shot through the gap like a bullet. The ship's hull scraped against radiation so intense it left scorch marks on the metal. Behind them, Captain Veltar followed the exact same path, his crystal body glowing with terror and amazement. "Incredible," breathed Bloometh, her jellyfish body pulsing with colors of amazement. The human saw an opening that lasted less than 3 seconds. With 10 minutes to spare, both ships burst from the Crimson Nebula into clear space. The Harmony was intact, her crew alive and staring at their rescuers with something approaching religious awe. Jack's tired voice came over the radio, and they could hear him grinning. "Well, that was fun. Everyone's still breathing over there, Captain." Veltar's crystal body flickered with emotions he didn't have words for. "Captain Morrison, what you just accomplished. Our greatest pilots with our most advanced computers could not have done what you did with nothing but instinct." "Like I said, Doc," Jack replied, "sometimes stubbornness works better than mathematics." The alien crew sat in stunned silence, realizing they had just witnessed something that would change how the galaxy thought about humans forever. The moment both ships cleared the edge of the Crimson Nebula, space around them lit up with the massive forms of Coalition rescue vessels. 12 enormous warships hung in the darkness like floating cities, their hulls gleaming with advanced armor and weapons that could destroy entire planets. Admiral Kresh stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at his scanner displays with his mouth hanging open. His yellow reptilian eyes couldn't believe what the instruments were telling him. 2 ships had just emerged from a region of space his computers had marked as total death zone. No survivors possible. "Sir," his assistant reported, her furry arms trembling as she checked the readings again. Sensors confirm 2 vessels have exited the nebula. One is the research ship Harmony with all crew alive. The other appears to be a small human cargo freighter. Kresh's scaled head shook slowly from side to side. That's impossible. We wrote off the Harmony as lost 6 hours ago. Nothing could survive in that radiation storm. But the evidence was right there on his screens. The Harmony was transmitting normal life signs, and the small human ship was actually leading the way. Its hull glowing red-hot from radiation damage, but still flying perfectly. Within minutes, both vessels were brought aboard the Coalition medical ship Mercy's Hand for emergency treatment. The alien crew of the Harmony was rushed to isolation chambers designed to treat radiation poisoning. While the humans were taken to a separate medical bay, Dr. Nalthi found himself in the strangest situation of his long career. As the expedition's lead scientist, he had been studying the limits of biological survival for over 50 years. But what he had witnessed today threw everything he knew about physics and biology out the window. He floated into the medical bay, where the human crew was being examined. The 5 humans looked tired and dirty, with radiation burns on their exposed skin. But they were sitting up and talking normally. By all scientific laws, they should have been reduced to atomic particles hours ago. Captain Morrison, Dr. Nalthi said quietly, his pale blue skin flickering with confused colors. Your species, what you accomplished today, should have been completely impossible. I've spent my entire life studying the effects of quantum radiation on living tissue. According to every scientific paper ever written, you should all be dead. Jack Morrison sat on the edge of a medical bed, letting a robot scanner check his vital signs. He looked up at the alien scientist and gave a tired shrug. Maybe for most folks, Doc. But see, Earth taught us a few things about surviving the impossible. Where we come from, we call this Tuesday. The doctor's crystalline features shifted as understanding began to dawn in his large black eyes. You're Deathworlders, he whispered. True, Deathworlders. Kate Wilson, who was having radiation burns treated on her arms, looked up with interest. Deathworlders? What's that supposed to mean? Dr. Nalthi's voice carried a mixture of fear and amazement. It's a term we use for species that evolved on planets so dangerous that normal life shouldn't be possible. Worlds with constant natural disasters, deadly radiation, extreme gravity, poisonous atmospheres. Most coalition species evolved on peaceful worlds with stable climates. Beth Parker laughed, while a medical robot sealed a cut on her forehead. Doc, you should see Earth during hurricane season, or when the volcanoes start acting up. This little radiation storm was nothing compared to what we deal with at home. The news of the impossible rescue spread through the Coalition fleet within hours. By the end of the day, every government in known space had heard the story. Humanity, the species that most aliens had dismissed as primitive and reckless, had just accomplished something that violated every known law of physics and biology. Coalition scientists scrambled to study the humans, trying to understand how their bodies could survive conditions that would instantly kill any other known life form. Military commanders began to realize that these primitive humans might be the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Dr. Nalthi spent the next 3 days writing reports that no one wanted to believe. The humans show no signs of cellular damage from quantum radiation exposure that should have been instantly fatal, he wrote. Their biological structure appears to be adapted for survival in conditions that we previously thought were incompatible with life itself. Meanwhile, Jack and his crew were recovering aboard the Coalition medical ship, enjoying the best food and medical care the galaxy had to offer. The alien doctors couldn't do much for them. Human biology was so different that most Coalition medicine didn't work on them anyway. On the 3rd day, Jack was sitting in the ship's observation lounge, watching the stars through a massive window, when his communication device chimed with an incoming message marked Priority Alpha Coalition, High Command. The message was short and to the point. Captain Morrison, recent events have brought your species to the attention of Coalition leadership. We have 17 rescue missions currently classified as impossible, no known solution. These involve conditions similar to what you recently survived. Your particular expertise appears to be exactly what we need. Payment will be substantial. When can you start? Jack read the message twice, then called his crew together in the lounge. Danny, Beth, Alex, and Kate gathered around him, all of them looking healthier after 3 days of rest and alien medical treatment. Well, team, Jack said, holding up his communication device. Looks like our little rescue mission made quite an impression. Coalition Command wants to hire us for 17 more impossible rescue missions. Alex grinned, his dark face showing excitement rather than concern. Impossible, huh? Sounds like our kind of work. Kate checked her medical supplies, already, mentally preparing for whatever dangerous conditions they might face next. As long as they pay well and we get to help people, I'm in. Beth was already pulling up star charts on her tablet, studying the coordinates that came with the message. Some of these locations are in sectors that have been marked as no entry zones for the past century. This is going to be interesting. Danny cracked his knuckles, the popping sound making nearby alien medical staff jump nervously. Boss, if the galaxy thinks these missions are impossible, they obviously haven't met humans before. Jack stood up and stretched, feeling better than he had in days. All right then. Beth, plot a course for the first set of coordinates. Looks like the galaxy is about to learn what humans do for fun. The Defiance, now repaired and upgraded with some Coalition technology as a thank you gift, undocked from the medical ship and jumped to hyperspace. As the small human vessel disappeared into the void, Dr. Nalthy watched from the observation deck. What have we discovered? He whispered to himself. A species that thrives where others die. A people who call the impossible Tuesday. Throughout the galaxy, alien governments were asking the same question. If humans could survive the unsurvivable, what else were they capable of? The answer to that question would reshape the balance of power in the known universe. But for now, the crew of the Defiance was simply happy to be doing what they did best, proving that sometimes the impossible just needs the right kind of stubborn human determination to make it possible. The age of human Deathworlders had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.